Well, a very good day, everybody. Welcome to this month's edition of The Shepherd's Voice with the Bishop of Trenton, David M. O'Connell. Bishop O'Connell, welcome back.
I was at a parish yesterday, and it was so coincidental. A woman came up to me and said, are you going to be doing Shepherd's Voice this month?
So they miss you.
And I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to do it tomorrow, actually.
I know you've been busy. There's been so much going on.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe how... I don't remember a time or a period that I've been so busy the whole time I've been here.
Yeah.
And like, for example, I've had the last 2 weeks, several masses a day, several homilies a day. Mm-hmm. I almost can't keep up. You want to write a good homily and something fresh and something meaningful. Right. But it's very, very hard to keep up with the schedule. I'm glad it's starting to slow down. As summer comes, it generally slows down a little bit.
Right,
so.
right. And how are you feeling after?
I'm feeling okay.
Yeah.
I occasionally have a little bit of a flutter in the chest and sometimes a little bit short of breath. And I have to go back to the cardiologist in a couple of weeks. I'm just wondering, maybe I have AFib. It seems to be the symptoms of those.
Yeah,
yeah. I said, for knowing me, it's always something. But in general, I feel pretty good. And I haven't done what I said I was going to do, and that was to cut back on the schedule. I actually have just not done it, and
well, we wouldn't let the doctors know that.
Beautiful. Well, today's the feast of the Solemnity of the Sacred Heart. What a beautiful feast, the outpouring of the love of Christ, the sacrifice of Christ, the life of Christ that he gives to us. So it's a beautiful feast. So happy, solemn feast to everyone who's listening. Well, also, today's the day of the sanctification of priests, day of prayer for the sanctification of priests. It's not a feast, but it's a commemoration, I guess you would say, that Pope St. John Paul II established around the turn of the century.
Is it by date or the actual Feast of the Sacred Heart?
It's the Sacred Heart.
Okay.
So Pope John Paul wanted it on the Feast of the Sacred Heart, so it's a day of prayer for priests and for their holiness and sanctification. It's a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
And I just a little while ago wrote a note to all my priests wishing them well, and when I offered Mass this morning, I prayed for them and my rosary for them, and the priesthood is so important, and it's so critical that we have good holy priests, and they devote themselves to, and to be channels of the Sacred Heart really in the work that they do. So happy day, my brother priests out there.
Very good. Yeah. And a lot of wonderful priests in this diocese.
Yeah, there are. And tomorrow's the memorial of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, so we have two hearts beating for us here in this great world.
Indeed.
We live in.
I know you have an agenda there, so I don't want to interrupt.
No, it's not much. It's just what I've been up to.
Okay, so let's get into that, because I know you had, of course, the diaconate ordinations. You had the priest ordinations last weekend, and so I know there's a lot been happening.
Well, you were broadcasting the diaconate.
We broadcast the diaconate because my nephew / godson was ordained.
Oh, that's beautiful.
John Italia, he's a deacon up at St. Paul's in Princeton.
Very, very nice.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll love it up there. They have a new pastor there.
Yes.
Father Chris Dayton, and the younger guy, and I ordained him. I'm starting to feel old. I'm looking around, all these guys, I've ordained them all. But he's doing a great job. And we also have another priest. There's this Hispanic community there. A couple hundred from the area who attend Mass there. And I needed to bring a priest in who was Spanish-speaking, who could speak Spanish. And I brought in a priest from the U.S. Virgin Islands. His name is Father Curly Francois. And he not only speaks Spanish, of course English as well, but also Creole.
Oh.
So he'll be very helpful to us here in the diocese, because we have a local, pretty large, significant Haitian community out in Our Lady of Sorrows, St. Anthony in Hamilton. And my secretary, Father Jean Lycian, is Haitian. So he helps out there occasionally. Father Pierre Alabre, who is the station there's parochial vicar, and speaks Creole, so he's a Haitian as well. So we want to make sure that we have enough to spread around. All the guys can reach out to the different language and ethnic groups as best we can.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we're going to be able to do that, but certainly right now we've been very fortunate, very blessed.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Now I know also we were very blessed to have had the Eucharistic revival procession come through our area.
What a great 3 days that we had, and I'll tell you, I think it was a special blessing for the diocese. And I think we're going to see the fruits of that. You know, the Bishops' Conference, the USCCB, which is meeting next week, actually, in Louisville. A couple of years ago, they decided that maybe it was time to foster and promote some renewal of our belief in and love for the Eucharist. And so they developed this idea of having a Eucharistic revival. They call it Eucharistic revival. And, it came in the face of that Pew study that said only a third of, baptized Catholics understand or believe in the Eucharist as the real presence, which was a shock to us. And I don't believe that it's accurate myself. I just don't. Because I just don't find that lack of belief in the Eucharist. I find that people don't go to church. I find a lot of things like that. But I don't find a positive lack of belief in the Eucharist. People maybe just ignore it. Or
it was a
take
national survey.
It was a national survey, it was a couple of years ago. So, of course, that set off alarm bells for us, for the bishops. And so we're kind of wringing our hands. What are we going to do? How can we address this? And so this is the way that they did a 3-year program, parish and diocese and national. And we're moving toward a national Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis, Indiana, and that's been promoted and so on. But this Eucharistic revival that we had in the diocese, we had, it was around Memorial Day, and we had a Mass, and we had adoration and worship, and we had some talks and so on, prayers at the cathedral, and largely Spanish speaking. I tried my best. I flubbed it up a little bit, but
no muy bueno.
Yeah, but at least I'm trying, But it was a beautiful Mass. The cathedral was standing room only, and it was beautiful. And the one thing I noticed, Jim, was all the young men, Hispanic men out there, and I said to myself, how come I can't get one to step forward and pursue priesthood for us? Because they are very devout. And it was very impressive to see them and watch them as they prayed that day. But that was the first day. Then the second day we moved down to St. Mary of the Pines, St. Mary in Manahawk and Barnegat area. And we had in the morning a Mass for children, at which I spoke about Carlo Acutis, of course, because of his life and his sanctity. And, of course, now the Holy Father has approved his moving forward to canonization. And in fact, in July, I think they're going to meet with a consistory to determine the dates for his canonization and some other ones that have been proposed. I was also happy to hear that Pier Giorgio Frassati, another young person in his 20s, is moving forward. His cause is moving forward, so good things are happening there. So I spoke on Carlo, and then we had some other talks, and Monsignor Ken Tuzno and his staff really had it beautifully decorated. And, we had smaller procession there with the Eucharist and adoration and prayer. And I stayed there actually for the whole day. And then at nighttime was a Mass for the general public, an opportunity really to pray together and to adore the Eucharist. So it was really great. And the next day we moved on to Bordentown, St. Mary, Mother of the Church.
Father Martin.
Father Martin, who actually was the chair
Right.
and the coordinator of the Eucharistic revival in our diocese, along with Ashway Ariola, who works in the Chancery in the Office of Evangelization. They did a marvelous job, and they had a committee, and really, really did a great job. So all the masses were crowded, which was really a delight.
Yeah.
And, this little kid comes up to me, and out of the mouth of babes, great wisdom can come. And he looked at the crowd, and he said, "Bishop, wouldn't it be great if they all came on Sunday?" And I said, "You're speaking my mind."
Absolutely.
So to have that come out of a child's mouth.
Yeah.
And we did a benediction in the park there, Hilltop Park in Bordentown, which oddly enough was, back in the day, early days, Revolutionary War times, that was a place where Catholics gathered to have Mass.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, to celebrate Mass. And Father Martin explained that to those who were gathering. And, I can't walk, as you know, for any length of time.
Right.
So they had a golf cart for me, so I was able to transport the Eucharist in the golf cart in Bordentown, and then we handed it back to the pilgrims who had a van, with the Eucharistic revival decals on it so that people would know what it was, and then I handed it back to the priest who was accompanying the pilgrimage throughout the country, and we went over to the bridge, the Trenton makes the world, and then we had the handoff to the Archdiocese of Philadelphia.
Right.
Father Bishop John McIntyre was there to for me to meet and then to give the Eucharist to him, and then he took it from
Cheryl
there.
was on the Pennsylvania side, as part of that, just to observe and be part of it.
Was she there when I?
On the Pennsylvania side.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and
I didn't see her.
She said, well, she said that then I guess when they processed the Holy Trinity Parish, like this, she said it was wonderful that the school children all lined the streets.
Oh.
And people were coming out of their homes and the pushers like wondering what's going on. So it drew attention, which was very nice.
Yeah, I once I handed off, then I came back to Trenton because I figured, well, this is Philadelphia really, and it was beautiful. But I'm happy to hear that. I didn't get a chance to see it. I know I saw Philadelphia News media there.
Oh, really?
Covering it. Yeah, it was on the.
Yeah.
It was on.
Well, it was a beautiful witness, especially out in public like that, and through neighborhoods, and
absolutely.
And she, like Cheryl said, she observed people coming out of their homes and wondering what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to explain
when
it.
I was in the golf cart in Bordentown, going from the church, St. Mary, Mother of the Church, down to the park, entrance, and I could see people coming out of their homes.
Yeah.
And some of them knew what it was.
Right.
But some of them clearly did, and you could see the look on their face, like, what's going on? What is this all about?
Yeah.
So maybe they'll, the graces at work there will prompt them to say, "Oh, geez, that's interesting.
Well,
let's look into it."
The awareness of the Lord's presence in the Eucharist. I mentioned this occasionally on my program. It's an image in my mind from when I was little. I had to be like 6 or 7 years old, driving in a car with my family. My dad always wore a fedora, always wore a hat.
Yeah.
And anytime he drove in front of a Catholic church, he'd tip his hat.
Yeah.
And there was just an awareness that the Lord is present there. And today, I think most of us don't even think about that at times. But he was always, he would just tip his hat as he drove in front of past the church.
It's one of the things I said, quoting Blessed Carlo Acutis, He had some great things that he said. And one of the things was he talked about how... he always was in church.
Yes.
On his way to school, on his way back from school, during the day. Great devotion to the Eucharist. But he said, ain't that funny, people will stand in line forever for tickets to a soccer match or to a rock concert. Yeah. And here's the Lord, and where are the lines?
Right.
And Archbishop Sheen said something similar.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that story of Sheen? When he was, he used to walk around Manhattan.
Oh, sure.
He was walking one day, and he went past the Ed Sullivan Theater. Huge lines going down the street. what's going on? He'd say something, and they tell him, some movie star,
Right.
or I forget who it was.
Right.
And he continued on his way. And he also had a practice of stopping in churches when he was walking or going around.
Yeah.
And he told the story of how he went into this one church there, and not a soul in the church.
Mm.
And he said, it just struck me. He said, there's, 1,000 people waiting at the Ed Sullivan Theater to see a movie star,
Right.
and no one to see the King of Kings and
Mhm.
the Lord of Lords.
Mhm. Yeah.
I remember one time, Al Sheen was always so dramatic.
Right.
If we really believed, we would crawl on our knees into the chain. It's true. And
Yeah.
this is God. This
That's
is the
right.
presence of God in our midst. So.
So that's what I hope. My hope is that this revival and the culminating event in Indianapolis just bring it from back to their parishes and back to their homes.
Yeah.
And
I won't be going out to the revival. It's just hard for me to get around.
Sure,
But the committee who worked on the revival for the diocesan and parish portions with Father O'Reilly and with Ashway will be going out to the revival there.
yeah.
So
Well, they're expecting a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think it's tough even to get a place to stay now at this point.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
very expensive too,
Yeah.
and that maybe kind of discourage some people, the cost of it. But
Although I do think Cheryl said she read somewhere that they're looking for volunteers. You can get yourself out there; they'll take care of the rest for you.
yeah,
To help people, direct people, and just be like kind of an usher.
yeah. Well, some dioceses, I heard this, had bought advance tickets.
Oh,
And, I think it was maybe like $300. It was not cheap, and bought a bunch of advance tickets so that have them,
okay.
and people haven't taken them up on it. So I know everybody, a lot of dioceses have been scurrying around, trying to get people who are interested, who haven't yet bought tickets to take the tickets off them.
Right.
Because they don't have anybody going.
Well, I know EWTN is going to carry it on TV, and probably
good.
some radio as well. I haven't got the schedule yet.
Who is going to do it on EWTN?
I don't know.
I wonder who's going to do it.
I don't know who's going to do it, but I know they're planning on covering it.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Beautiful thing.
Yes.
They always cover the pro-life march.
Yes.
Which they do a great job with that. And
Well, they're getting a lot more young people involved now, which is good. Some of the, like some of the pro-life programs or the news programs, younger men and women.
yeah.
You do, because you have to attract that audience. You
Oh,
can't,
yeah. This is the one, if I had any real concern, and I do have many, but one of them is, our inability to attract and hold on to young people.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to draw them into the church and into the beautiful things the church has to offer us is a good thing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the ordinations. They were great. We had about, I think, 13 ordained to the diaconate, one to the what we call the transitional diaconate, which is the last stage before ordination to the priesthood. And then the rest are all permanent diaconate, members of the permanent diaconate now. And they were so excited. I saw them beforehand in the rectory over at the cathedral, and they were so, I would say, nervous too.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful just to see them there, and the ceremony went off without a hitch.
Yeah.
And the guys were so happy, and their families. I was delighted to see it. And then we had two ordained to the priesthood. Father Wynne Courage, who was a convert, student at Princeton University, actually. I remember him when he was much younger, being one of my servers at the cathedral.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a picture. I was looking through some pictures the other day,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh my God, that's Wynne Courage."
Oh.
And he's well known for smiling all the time. He had
Okay.
a big smile on
Yeah,
his face.
yeah.
And then Brian Minders, who was from the Toms River area, very interesting guy, has an interesting history. He was the world champion of poker. He was the winner.
Oh, really?
Out in Las Vegas before,
Wow.
of course, before he was
Yeah.
in the seminary. And just a great guy. He plays chess, and
Yeah.
he's a good guy, happy guy. And I was just so happy for them both. I've watched them grow and watched them move forward in the seminary. Both very smart guys and bright guys, and I'm sure they're going to do a great job. Father Wynn, is going to Red Bank,
Mm-hmm.
and Father Brian is going to the Co-Cathedral.
Okay.
So I'll see probably a lot more of Brian than I will of
Mm-hmm.
Wynn. But two good assignments, two good placements,
Yeah.
and they'll do a great job.
Yeah.
You know, Red Bank it has two schools
Mm-hmm.
and has a very active hospital ministry or
Mm-hmm.
need for hospital
Mm-hmm.
ministry there. And Monsignor Joe Rosie is the pastor there, doing a great job. So I'm happy. The priest who was there, Father Rich Osborne,
Mm-hmm.
whom I also ordained, he's going to take Father Dan Hesco's place out in St. Catherine Library in Middletown.
Oh, okay.
So he's going to go over there. And
Okay. He'll be pastor there?
He's going to be the pastor. He'll be
Mm-hmm.
administrator first, and
Mm-hmm.
then and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
move along to
Oh, that's
pastor.
interesting. We see that first the priest is an administrator before becoming pastors. There's
a difference. You know, in canon law,
Mm-hmm.
the pastor has some certain rights and privileges at canon law that are to be attended to, and so I want to give them a chance before they become pastors
Mm-hmm.
to make sure, number one, that they like the assignment
Mm-hmm.
and they do the same things, you know, all the administrative things
Right.
of running a parish,
Mm-hmm.
but they just don't have the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give them the title with all of the
Now, is that canon law that states that, or is that your own personal choice to do it that way?
The canon law describes the rights and duties of a pastor.
Okay.
Making them administrator, that's my decision.
Okay.
So I give them a few months to
Mm-hmm.
see to get the lay of the land,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they do okay, make sure that they are happy. That's
Mm-hmm.
very important to me. And also make sure that they get along with their parishioners, you know. That's also very important,
Mm-hmm.
that we see how it works out.
What's your advice to someone becoming a pastor? What do you tell them? I mean, you just mentioned a few things, but is there advice you give them as?
Yes, I do. I do give them very clear advice. And, you know, I quote the Jeremiah, you know, be shepherd after the heart of Jesus. Be compassionate. Don't be rigid. And that's a problem sometimes. You know, they have their own way, their own mindset on things, and they come in. And I say to them, realize you're going to a community that's already established.
Right.
You're not going there to create the community. It's already there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it's important for you. I tell them it's important for them to listen to the people, to be attentive, to be present to them. Let the people get to know them. Very important. Make sure they prepare their homilies and that they give good homilies.
Mm-hmm.
And much of what a pastor does, the administrative side of it, is something you're never taught. You just have to kind of learn it on the job. And so I make sure they know that the door is open if they have needs or questions, that the Chancery staff will be very happy to help them in any way, give them guidance. And, of course, they all have my cell phone number. That's a little bit unusual among the bishops, but I give it to them. They have this cell phone number, and they can call me and contact me. But I want them to be merciful. I want them to be holy, to pray. I want them to encourage the faithful to pray, to do everything they can for the young, to draw them into church. You know, there's a bunch of things that I...
Now, on the opposite end of that, they won't make everybody happy either, will they?
Well, nobody does.
Right?
You know, nobody does. I used to say when I was teaching in the seminary, just realize the day after you're ordained, you're going to walk out for your first Mass in a parish. 50% of the people will decide they hate you, and 50% will decide they like you on the first day.
Right.
So I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Human nature, right?
And I always also kind of tell them, you know, don't let that shake you. You know, you just do your job and do it well, and treat everybody with kindness, and you know, hopefully the 50% will come around. The ones that don't like you, or whatever, however you would express that. And you know what I have found now, this is my going on 15 years here,
Mm-hmm.
is that usually when you assign a priest to a parish as a pastor, administrator,
Mm-hmm.
they're assigned as pastors if they've been pastors before. I want to put that out there. It's not everybody in the change doesn't become an administrator. It's those who have never been a pastor.
Okay. Uh-huh.
They're the
Right.
ones that become administrators.
Mm-hmm.
And then those who have been pastors are named pastor because they already have the
Right.
experience.
So first-time assignment is
Yeah,
first administrator.
First administrator. But, it does take a year or two for
We've always done it this way, Father.
for people to
Right.
people to get used to
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Like, you sometimes you'll have somebody there, and guys have their own personality characteristics,
Sure.
and sometimes they're quirky, or sometimes, whatever. And I always say, I've always noticed that I might get some letters or some complaints.
Yeah.
Most of them are silly.
I had a priest friend many years ago. He's since passed away. God rest his soul. But I remember him telling me, we were having conversation, and he said the two things that are. First of all, my parents told me when I became a priest, you have to have the skin of an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the second thing is, for him, Sunday afternoons were the loneliest day of the week because he would see all the families and the children, and then he'd go to the rectory and
Yeah.
be by himself. It's not. I'm sure it's at times it's a very difficult life. Isn't
That could be, but I never minded.
it? Well, for him.
I never minded it. Once the last mass,
See ya.
heading over the rectory, making a sandwich, and turning on a game, or
Yeah.
kind of taking a
Right.
nap or whatever.
Right.
But it usually takes between a year or two for it to work.
Yeah.
The letters stop, the complaints stop,
Mhm.
and everybody gets adjusted and used to
Mhm.
one another. So, but there are a lot of things that I say to the priests when they become administrators or pastors, and too many that I can in answer to your question. I
Right.
can't even think of a lot of them. But
Right.
the one thing that I always caution them about is, you're there to preach the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. You're there to lead people to Christ, teach them how to pray, support them in their prayer.
Mm.
Whether the trash truck comes on Monday or the this or that physical problem with the facilities, that's not the most important thing. It might seem like the most important thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it isn't the most important thing. So keep your focus, keep your priorities straight. Good men. We are very blessed in this
sure.
diocese with very, very fine priests.
Yeah.
And, I've been around, as president. I was traveled all over the country, and bishops that used to ask me to come give their days of recollection for priests and so on. So I've had a lot of exposure to dioceses all over the country. And this diocese is very, very lucky and very blessed. So I'm happy about
Good,
that. And I
good.
wish our ordinands and
Now, there are other assignments coming out eventually this month, or that's it for those? You mentioned those two.
there's nothing I have in mind right now, but then again, it depends. Some we have a number of priests who actually are not well or sick in the hospital. So that is probably the most significant determinant. Their priest's health is very important, and so one or two may happen, but I'm not planning on any. But you don't always plan some of these things.
Right.
I think all the assignments are pretty much settled. I publish them in the Monitor. I kind of follow the Holy See. When they give assignments, they publish them in their official acts of the Apostolic See. So I always try to aim for May the 1st for the announcement. I tell them ahead of time, now don't tell anybody, just keep, because something may happen, you may have to change it, as that happened to me, my first assignment. And I said, you're all set to go, and you tell everybody, and then the next thing you know, you're not going where you thought you were going. So I don't want to embarrass you, so just keep it quiet until May 1st, then I'll publish it, and then you can talk about it.
Okay.
Now, what do you think? How many of you think actually do keep it quiet?
Yeah. The grapevine is wide and long, right?
Oh, boy. I was going to say, some people even know where they're going before I do.
Yeah, yeah.
But, they make the announcement. And then the actual change occurs on July 1st.
Yeah.
We still observe the provision in our statutes that retirement from office from an office, like pastor, occurs at age of 75.
Mm-hmm.
And I will occasionally make exceptions for that, or let a guy stay for an extra year.
Mm-hmm.
Let a priest stay for an extra year.
Is that mandatory, the 75, to retire?
In
for
our
a priest?
statutes, yes.
Oh.
In our statutes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Just like in canon law, the
Mm-hmm.
bishop retires at 75.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bishop of Camden is going to be 80, and
Right.
he's still in office.
Yeah.
So.
Although there is a new bishop coming, right?
coadjutor there.
Mhm.
I don't know him. I've never met him.
Mhm.
I don't recognize him. When I see his picture,
Mhm.
I understand he's a very nice guy and
Yeah.
very people-oriented
Mhm.
guy. So I wish him well. I wrote him a note this week, and actually he came to Camden, and I understand he came to last week's meeting of the New Jersey bishops.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't there because I was occupied with the Eucharistic revival,
Mhm.
but I wish him well. But he's what's called a coadjutor,
Mhm.
and a coadjutor is an auxiliary bishop who, upon the retirement or the death or the resignation of the bishop,
Mhm.
the diocesan bishop,
Mhm.
they immediately succeed to that position.
Mm.
That's not true of every bishop. It's true of coadjutor bishops. Like,
Mhm.
for example, when I came to Trenton, I was a coadjutor
Yes.
bishop,
Mhm.
and I was here for a couple months. I think I took over on December 1st. I think I was ordained on July 30th,
Mhm.
consecrated as bishop. And so as soon as Bishop Smith's letter of resignation was accepted by the Holy Father, then
Mhm.
I immediately took over.
Mhm.
And it's funny, when bishops are appointed or ordained, if they're not bishops already, then they're ordained, and then there's a big ceremony, and they take over in a ceremonial way.
Mhm.
When you're a coadjutor, you're already ordained a bishop, and so there is no ceremony.
Mm.
You just take
Just
over.
take over.
So that's the way that goes. So
Yeah.
I was ordained here in Trenton,
Yes.
consecrated a bishop. Well, you were there. You
Yeah. Mhm.
covered it.
Yeah.
And then on December 1st, then I just succeeded Bishop Smith as
Mhm.
bishop. And sometimes bishops want to retire, sometimes they don't.
Mhm.
Sometimes pastors want to retire, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. As time goes on, I mean, we're getting fewer in number.
Mhm.
When a bishop or when a priest retires, he becomes available to help out in parishes when they need them.
Mhm.
And so that's a good thing,
Yes.
and blessing. He's freed from all the administrative
Mhm.
burdens and all of that, you
Right.
know. And but he just comes and he stays in touch with the community, and
Sure.
it's a beautiful thing
Yeah.
to see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had a
Yeah.
very good friend over at Queen of the Universe, retired priest, Father Doherty. Was a wonderful, wonderful priest. And he was just there in
Yeah.
retirement, but he was like the sexton. He was doing everything in the parish.
Yeah, yeah,
He loved it. He loved
yeah.
it.
And priests do like it, and I think it's a great opportunity for them,
Mm-hmm.
but also a great opportunity for the people, because
Sure.
the people have the benefit of a man who's been through it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have a priest in our diocese who actually he helps out in a parish, and he advertises a time when he will be there in the rectory for anybody who wants to talk
Oh,
about
very nice.
anything.
Very nice.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
People do take him up on it. They
Oh,
come,
yeah.
maybe they have marriage
Sure.
issues or issues with their children
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
and he's there, and they love him for that
Mhm.
too, and
Yeah.
it's a nice thing to see.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So they're all on their way, which makes me very happy. Next year, let's see. I have one priest
Mm-hmm.
currently scheduled to be ordained,
Mhm.
Alan Bridges. He's going to spend the summer as a deacon. He was the transitional deacon I
Oh,
ordained.
okay. Mm-hmm.
He'll be over at Our Lady's Sorrows, St. Anthony's in
Mhm.
Hamilton with Monsignor Gervasio.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll have a good experience with Monsignor. Monsignor's a wonderful, wonderful pastor, great pastor, and vicar general. So he knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This month, when May comes, it's always an incredibly busy time because you have graduations. You're wrapping up your confirmation schedule, so anybody you didn't get to during the year, you try to schedule them there.
Mm-hmm.
In that particular time, I had graduations. Let's see, I was CBA, Christian Brothers Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I had their graduation at St. Mary's in Middletown,
Mm-hmm.
Father Kegley's parish. I couldn't do the Red Bank Catholic, which I have done almost every year I've been here. So they had something which is called a clap out mass. I never heard of it.
Mm-mm.
So I asked Monsignor Rose, I said, what does that mean? He says, well, it's mass and it's a graduation oriented mass. But he said, there's really nothing unusual about it until the end. At the end, all the kids in the school go outside and they double line,
Mm-hmm.
and then the graduates come out and they walk through there and they clap,
Oh,
clapping
okay.
out.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I never heard of it, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it was beautiful,
Yeah.
really.
Mhm.
And I said, oh my goodness, this is better than the baccalaureate because it was just the kids
Yeah.
and their teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had no distractions.
Right.
You know, nobody was worried about it. They were just for them. So
Oh, neat.
I love that. I was at graduation at St. Rose in
Mhm.
Belmar,
Mm-hmm.
and I have done their graduation a number of times. Notre Dame High School, I did their graduation this year. Graduation. When I say graduation, I mean baccalaureate mass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to the graduation ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I said, over my life as a dean and as vice president and as president, I've been to so many graduations.
Mm-hmm.
So I do what a priest does, and that's say mass.
Yeah.
Say mass from
Yeah.
the baccalaureate. And then I had Donovan Catholic down in Toms River, and that was beautiful, beautiful mass too. And then confirmations. There are a lot. You know, I do about 35 or 40 confirmations a year.
Mm-hmm.
Try to spread them out. For some reason, there's not a lot in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 5 or 6 in the fall.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are all in the springtime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd like more to be in the fall because sometimes in the springtime there's bad weather or something
Mhm.
like that. So I like to make sure I go. And then a number of priests, you know, since COVID came, when I delegated a lot of the pastors,
Yeah.
many of the pastors enjoyed it so much they said, "Oh, could I do it? Could I be delegated again?" So
Mhm.
about 20 are delegated for the coming year. But I enjoy it. I enjoy coming to the parish. But you know, confirmation is technically a physical visit to the parish.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the people there are not parishioners. They're
Right.
aunts and uncles and
Right.
cousins, and they're from other parts of the.
Right.
It's always a nice occasion.
Mhm.
Right. This week I was down at St. Alfonso Retreat House in Long Branch.
Mm-hmm.
My religious community, the Vincentians, the Congregation of the Mission, had their assembly, or what some religious call chapter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a gathering of the members of the community, and they discuss, you know, important things related to the community and its life and its works. And even though when you become a bishop and you're religious, you're dispensed from certain things that you would not be dispensed from because you took vows. For
Mhm.
example, the vow of obedience.
Mm-hmm.
You take a vow of obedience to the superior of the religious order. When you become a bishop, that vow is dispensed,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're obedient only to the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, you know,
Right.
as religious, you're obedient to the Pope, but you have a vow
Right.
to the Pope.
Mhm.
And then the vow of poverty,
Mm-hmm.
which the religious take, that's also dispensed for when you become a bishop. And that's because, you know, you have so many things that you have to do and so many needs that you wouldn't have ordinarily as a
Mhm.
religious.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, you know, the first time I ever saw my paycheck was when I became a bishop.
Okay.
I know, because it
Yeah.
went right to the order.
All
The
right.
order.
I see.
When you take a vow of poverty,
Mhm.
your things, your income, and all of that goes to the order. Well,
Mhm.
I didn't even know how to do taxes
Oh,
when I
my.
first came, so I had to learn all of that when I came. I opted to remain a member of the community,
Mhm.
and that's why you see CM after my name,
Mm-hmm.
Congregation of the Mission. I didn't opt to leave the community. Some do,
Mm-hmm.
but most of us, because our whole life is in the community, and
Mm-hmm.
we remain part of the community. Anyway, I went down to the Vincentian Assembly and did the opening mass, and I stayed with my confreres there, my Vincentian brothers there for
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the day. And saw all my kids. First time my whole ordination class has been together.
Really?
So we had a good visit.
Now,
with them.
many years from now, when you do retire, do you go back into community?
You could, but you can never have the rights that you had as a religious. For example, you can't vote. I can't vote for the provincial. I can't vote on any of the business items that come up.
Oh, okay.
Nor can I be voted for. People can say, "Oh, well, he was a bishop. We'll make him the provincial."
Mm-hmm.
That can't happen.
Mm.
So you don't have the right of voting for anything. And there are some other things that you can't do, but you can go back. I mean, I'm still a member.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I always kid the guys. When they need a mitre at the funeral of one of the Vincentians, I'll get a call. This year, actually, I ordained 2 deacons.
Oh, did you?
The first time I've ordained members of the community since I've been a bishop, so that was very nice. So I visit. I still have my friends in the community, just keep in touch with them. But anyway, so I was there for that gathering. And then I didn't realize that my seminarians were also there at St. Alfonso at the same time.
Oh, really?
They were making their retreat.
Oh, okay.
So I usually, when the seminarians have their retreat, I usually go down for a day.
Right.
And I spend the day with them, have Mass.
Mm-hmm.
Then I meet with them individually, and then have dinner or take them out to dinner. Usually I take them out for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that on Wednesday. And we had a great time, great visit. And then I had the 25th anniversary of the Sisters and Missionaries of Charity. They were in Asbury Park.
Mm-hmm.
They came to us and they're at Mother Mercy Parish in Asbury Park. Beautiful sisters, great, talk about the love of Christ. They just witness to that so much. And so they work with the poor, they work with the sick, as Mother Teresa intended them to. Mm-hmm. And I think there in Asbury Park they do some religious education with the children as well.
Okay.
So we had a good time.
Well,
nice.
Good.
We were at Holy Innocents in Neptune, that church. We used that church. We couldn't use this Mother Mercy in Asbury Park at the time because there was something else already pre-scheduled for it. So Father H. Todd Carter is the pastor there. He welcomed us very, very warmly. And there were a bunch of priests there. Good priests.
Good.
Let's see. The seminary retreat, I mentioned that earlier, that was given by Father James Dowd, who's a Redemptorist priest. And the seminarians thought he was terrific.
Yeah.
And so the retreat ended today. And I was amazed when I went to the Mass and I heard the organ playing, and I knew none of our seminaries were musical. And sure enough, it was the retreat master.
Oh, it was?
And he played the organ beautifully,
Wow.
so he was there for that. This coming weekend, Sunday, I have the 50th anniversary of the St. Francis House of Prayer, and that's over in Allentown area. And it's a retreat house. It's a small retreat house. Sister Marcy Springer is the sister who's in charge of it. So this is their 50th anniversary, so I'll go over there for a Mass. We have the oratory has been officially, canonically approved by Rome. So now it's an oratory of pontifical right, and we will have that. I'll have a Mass to commemorate and establish that in July the 7th, with Father Altamayo and Father Nick Dolan and the boys down there. They're great guys, and I'm looking forward to it. An oratory, they don't take vows. They're not religious the way that I was religious, or I guess I still am religious, but my confreres are religious. They don't take vows as we do. They just continue on as diocesan priests, but they have a special role, is that they're given a parish or given a place, and that's where they live for the rest of their lives. So they were down at St. Anthony's in Red Bank, and they have a beautiful.
Then what's the definition of an oratory, though? What does that mean?
St. Philip Neri. It's a group of priests who choose to live together in community for the sake of the works that they do.
Okay.
And so they gather together. There's a couple of them around. Here in New Jersey, there's another oratory. There's one in Washington. There's one in Brooklyn. But these men choose to live together, and but it has to be established, and the Holy See gives several years before it will actually give permission for it to be established.
So it's not an order.
It's not an order.
No.
It's an oratory because it's devoted to prayer, to common prayer, and hence the name. But they do their work and they do it together. They eat together. They have prayers together. A lot of the things that a religious order does, but they're just not a religious order.
Yeah.
They're under the direction and jurisdiction of the bishop until they're finally approved and established by the Holy See. Then they become not a association of diocesan right. They become an association of pontifical right.
Oh, okay.
So their superior is in Rome, the Holy See, and they have a national director. I hope I'm not getting all of this wrong, but I'm looking forward to that in July.
Yeah.
I'll have more to say about it when I do my studies.
Yeah.
And I just got a note from the Basilica of the National Shrine in Washington, and this year is their 100th anniversary.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So Monsignor Rossi, who's the rector there, sent out a note to all the bishops to say on August 22nd they're going to have a big mass and celebration. Any priest who wants to come is welcome to come. So that's a great thing. You've been to the shrine.
Oh, sure, many times.
And this coming week is the beginning of the summer meeting of the Bishops' Conference of the United States.
That in Baltimore again?
No, it's in Louisville. The summer meeting is usually in another place.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, the November meeting is always in Baltimore. But the summer meeting, they usually pick some other place.
Oh, okay.
One year they picked a place in California in a very nice hotel, and people went crazy criticizing them. How can you go to a hotel? So they had to switch it. But yeah, that should be good.
And you're not able to go?
No, I'm not going. Yeah. I usually don't go to the summer meeting. The summer meeting has become a mini November meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need 2 full weeks, but I'm in the minority there. Others go. I'm not a big meeting guy. So anyway, that's my story.
All right. Well, next year is a holy year.
Yeah.
Right?
How about that?
So
I'm going to put together a little committee, and
they say Rome will be hopping all year long.
Oh, it's already, Jim. It's already.
Yeah.
And
a lot of pilgrimages already we see advertised.
They've been doing a lot of work, sprucing things up and fixing roads and hotels and all.
The Appian Way.
Yeah, the hotel that we stayed in January when I was there with the pilgrimage was the Michelangelo.
Yeah, beautiful. We've stayed there.
Have you?
Oh,
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it's very close to the Holy See, to the St. Peter's and to the Vatican and so on. So you can really it's about a 10-minute walk.
Yeah. And
so that'll be nice. We have in our diocese, in the chancery, an administrator, Carolyn Norbert. And Carolyn she's created a pilgrimage, Journeys of Faith, it's called. And she's helping to run a lot of pilgrimages in the diocese. Yeah. But the Holy Year will be beautiful. I'm not sure whether I'm going to conduct a pilgrimage myself. Now I'm nervous about going to Rome, having had some not so pleasant experience this year. But a lot of parishes.
Oh, I know.
Are scheduling.
We've talked about it, Cheryl and I, about organizing.
For here?
Yeah, because we did, in 3 years in a row, 13, 14, 15, we had pilgrimages.
Yeah, I remember when
But we haven't done it since then. I said this would be a nice year to do it. Otherwise, we just go by ourselves. We do want to get over there.
Yeah, we'll have things going on throughout the year in the diocese.
Yeah. And it's every, an official Holy Year is automatically every 25 years?
25 years, although Pope Francis scheduled an extraordinary Holy Year a few years back. When was it? 215 or 2015 or something.
Yes, I
The
remember.
Year of Faith.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a beautiful year. But the thing is the Holy Door.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a door that's only opened every 25 years,
Right.
and the Pope
In St.
blesses
Peter's,
it,
yeah.
and people get indulgences, and they
Mhm.
have all kinds of...
And do they do that locally too?
We will.
You establish a holy door?
Yeah, we'll have the cathedral. Will have, and the Pope has written and asked us to do this.
Okay.
So both the cathedral and if you have a co-cathedral. So I'll have a holy door at the cathedral, a holy door at
Mm-hmm.
the co-cathedral, and there'll be a ceremony. You know, Pope has asked that we say the bishops say mass at this cathedral and co-cathedral on December the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be in both places, so I'm going to do the 28th
Mm-hmm.
at the cathedral in Trenton, and then that'll be probably a bilingual mass,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 29th I'll do at the co-cathedral.
Mm-hmm. Is there significance to that date that he wants it on?
It's before the Holy Year begins.
I thought that began the first. Well, isn't the first Sunday of Advent? No. Doesn't he open the door? Oh, Christmas Eve. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's around.
Yeah.
It's you know, I don't know. It's the Holy Year is 2025, isn't it?
Yeah, but liturgically, isn't it? I mean, I thought he opened the door on Christmas Eve for some reason. I don't know.
Christmas Eve.
Maybe that was the Jubilee.
I have to go back and
Yeah,
I read
yeah.
the letter, but I don't remember
Yeah.
offhand. So,
Well, we'll give him a call.
I'm getting
Let's call him
old.
right now.
Jim, I'm getting old here. My memory
hear
is
you.
shot.
Me too.
But that'll be nice. And then what I may do, I haven't decided because the committee has not been established yet, but
Mhm.
what I would like to do is I'll establish a holy door in each of the counties of the diocese.
Okay.
And then during the coming year, I will do one Sunday a month for 12 months in a different parish
Mhm.
all around the diocese, so that I have myself going somewhere for a holy year.
Mhm.
So that,
And there will be indulgences
Oh, yeah,
associated
yeah.
with this.
there'll be lots of
Yeah, yeah,
indulgences, yeah. And other things as well, you know. But
Mhm.
I'm hoping that we'll continue to foster the Eucharist,
Yeah.
and devotion to the Eucharist,
Yeah.
with this holy year. But and of course the synod continues. The synod will meet again in October, and you know there's all kinds of things surrounding that.
And
Yeah.
does that continue the synod?
That's part two. You know, the synod met last year,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second session will be this coming October. And then after that, there'll be a report issued and documented.
And I've seen the Holy Father. He's mostly in a wheelchair now. It seems whenever you see
Yeah,
him, he was
you
at
know,
the.
when we saw him, I went when I went.
Mm-hmm.
I went New Year's Day
Yeah.
to Rome,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next day I went over to the Vatican to say hello and to visit with the Holy Father.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the day I had the heart attack.
Yeah.
And so I visited with him. We had a very pleasant time, you know,
Mhm.
brief. But
Mm-hmm.
pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out to lunch, and then I had the heart attack after
Mm.
lunch.
What'd you eat?
So I don't know. People were saying, well, what did he say to you?
Right. Even more important, right?
I said he was as nice as you could ever imagine. He was so cheerful and pleasant. It was great. And then I saw him again before I left to come
Yeah.
back home.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Bishop, our time is just about up.
Oh,
But great having you here.
did I say anything worth remembering?
Oh, well, listen. Now, all of your fans will be happy that you're back. And
Oh, yeah, that's great. You know, it's a shame, you know, Fridays, you can't prevent a funeral or something.
Right,
I had
right,
a couple
right.
of
No,
funerals
yeah,
this year,
yeah.
and they go all on Friday. I try to get them to have them on another day, but it doesn't work.
Well, have a relaxing summer.
Oh, you too.
And
yeah.
I'm sure we'll see each other around, and we'll see you hopefully in September.
Yeah, that's great. God bless you, and God bless everybody. Have a wonderful summer. Get
Thank-
to church.
Thanks, Bishop.